Laughter.
Look into the watch. Don't look around the watch. Look into the watch. Okay. When I click my fingers again, you're going to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Failing that, if that doesn't work, you could win one of these prints.
Ooh.
Go on then. Go on, subscribe now and write a comment in. The following podcast contains some strong language and some very average opinions. Any references to actual people are wildly inaccurate. It's probably best if you don't listen at all. The Roaring Peacock Podcast. Welcome back to the Roaring Peacock Podcast. This is the Youth Pod, episode 9, I do believe. And we will be reviewing the Palace game, which we lost 2-0, and you had to pay £3 for. Presumably, the money was collected to bribe the referee, allegedly. And we'll look at Nohan Kenneh, player profile, and we'll look ahead to the Wolves preview. So my name is Ross, and you know me as @RossBell1984, and it's a very good hello from me. And joining us on the Youth Pod is Rob, our juicy Rob.
Good evening, Ross. I like your new hairstyle.
Thank you. I've advanced hair studio. And and Matty Ingham, who is the owner of LUFC Academy Central, is here with us too.
Hello, everybody.
Matty. Hello. Okay. I know basically nothing about the under-23s, and you guys are the experts, so I'm going to leave it up to you. First thoughts, gentlemen.
Yeah, the Palace game, first defeat in 10, and we had to pay £3 for it. So yeah, not a great day all round. Somerville sent off after about 20 minutes, I think, half an hour. So yeah, just probably best to just put it behind us, and let's talk about Nohan Kenneh and Wolves a bit more, I think.
Right. Yeah. Any thoughts on the Palace game, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I was, first of all, before I came on this thought, I'm not going to focus on the negatives, which is the first loss that we've covered for the under-23s actually on this podcast. Right. So I'm going to spin it around. We're going to talk about Sean Derry still having a ridiculous haircut because he was the gaffer of the Crystal Palace under-23s. And obviously, we're not going to give a referee that allows Crystal Palace 21 fouls without a single booking, I don't think, at that time, plus our 54% possession and basically domination of the game to spoil our fun with his refereeing antics. Like you say, I think he took a small bribe from the £3 donations for the game. So instead, I wanted to talk a little bit about something else that happened on the week, which was the joining of the Marching Out Together podcast, which actually is relevant to the under-23s. It wasn't a podcast, it was a Zoom call, wasn't it? So I was hoping to be able to serenade
another one. Another podcast.
Not another one. Not another Leeds podcast. I was
another Leeds podcast.
Hoping to serenade our listeners with a bit of information from that, which I found absolutely enthralling and an exhilarating listen and an insight into what goes on at the academy levels. So if I can be permitted to discuss that at some point during this recording, I shall.
How long do you need?
Not long.
No, go on then.
Not long. Just a teaser. So... first of all, as we all know here at the Roaring Peacock, we are big advocates and partners and friends and allies to Marching Out Together, which any of our listeners, I do hope that you do follow all their socials and you also become a member and get involved in any... Can
I just ask you, sorry, it's playing on my mind. Yes. It's like, can you just explain Sean Derry?
He was the under-23s gaffer for Crystal Palace.
Okay.
He had a ridiculous haircut when he was a player, and he had a ridiculous haircut on the sidelines.
Are we talking 80s mullet? Are we talking Beckham 2000 era Mohican?
All round unofficial wildman caveman style. Now, actually, I don't mind Sean Derry, and I've got not an association with him personally, but a good friend who followed his career quite closely. So if he, by some chance he listens to this, it was just supposed to be a jovial dig at your terrible hair.
Okay, got it. Okay, so the caveman Sean Derry needs a visit to the barbers ASAP. So let's go back to what you're talking about. So you joined a Zoom call with Marching Out Together.
Yes.
And there was a couple of people from the academy and they were giving a speech.
Yes, they gave a talk to the members of Marching Out Together around some of the good work that the LGBTQ plus community and the academy is knitting together to do. And also they gave a kind of wider insight, or a little bit of insight, into some other things that have been happening with regards to the academy. And I just thought it was all round interesting. It was Katie Slee, who's the Academy Education and Player Care Manager. I hope I've got her title correctly. And Callum Murphy, who is the Player Care Lead. And I thought both of them were absolutely completely transparent and really, really informative and educational with the information that they were giving over. They look after our player welfare in the academies from the under 9s all the way up to the under 23s. And that involves all aspects of player care, from diet, exercise, training, schedules, education, knowledge sharing, and care, really. The all-round care of those players, from whatever that package might look like, depending on the relevant age range. And long and short of it, it's so pleasing to see that the feedback from them is that across the academy, along all age ranges, we've not only got the support for Marching Out Together in terms of the educational piece around the LGBTQ plus community and inclusivity, but also kind of some of the insights into the psychology of some of the younger players, which I think a lot of the time is overlooked. Some of these lads we talk about week in and week out on this podcast and YouTube channel are 17, 18 years old. And we talk a lot about the criticism and shouldering that expectation that the Leeds fan base will bring. And it's really, really good to know that someone like Callum or Katie is looking after these lads in terms of both the player development perspective, and there's specialised departments, of course, and coaching staff that do that, but also from a guidance, welfare, social responsibility aspect, which it seems like that our young lads from the under 16s, under 18s and the under 23s really take on board, care in the community projects, understanding their role and what they play in terms of a role model for society and our football club. So it was a very interesting talk, and I really, really wanted to just thank Wiggy and all the people over at Marching Out Together for allowing me to join, and also just sort of give our listeners a bit of an insight into that.
Brilliant. Matty, do you have anything to add?
No, I think Rob's got it all covered. Obviously, it's good to know that not only the players are in good hands, but that's obviously feeding onto the community as well, and the players are all playing their part. I think it's good. It's all good.
I think a lot of that stuff really goes under the surface, doesn't it? So you just, with football, you tend to just see the results. I mean, at a very shallow basic level, you really just see the goals. Oh, we lost 2-0. Okay. And then switch over onto the next thing or whatever. But so much goes on under the surface of this club. And I really think it's great that you've got that insight from Marching Out Together, and regaled us with it. Okay. Matty, did you have anything that you wanted to talk about? You had some kind of interview with some fella from Oldham. How's Alfie McCalmont getting on?
Yeah, he's doing all right. My mate that just came on with me this morning for LUFC Academy Central, my site. He goes to uni with me, and he works for Oldham's media team. Just kind of let me know how Alfie McCalmont were getting on. So yeah, that video will be on my site, on my Twitter, so you can find it on there. Just said how he was getting on, talked about his possibilities of being a Bielsa player and sort of the ability that he has, and yeah, just how he's getting on in League Two. And it was all good news. So yeah, go give that a watch for the full thing.
Okay, and we brushed over it really quickly. But Palace, then, can we spend a minute or two just on Palace?
We were talking a lot on WhatsApp and on other podcasts about multi-positional youth players that we've got, and the theme of Bielsa liking versatility in the squad. So I noticed, but as we all know from a small temper tantrum I had before the game, where it was sprung upon me that I might have to pay £3, being a tight Yorkshireman, and not expecting that. I missed the first 15 minutes due to I saw the second yellow, not the first yellow. So I was also surprised by the red card due to my own anger issues. But I wanted to talk or ask Matty about the position that I saw Drame playing in. So he kind of started more as a CDM with Huggins on the right, but I didn't know if that was a position that he'd adopted from the beginning of the game or if that transitioned in around the red card because I'd missed the first bit. So we discussed around, obviously, with us profiling Nohan today, who's a DM, CDM type player, what Drame would bring to that role previously. So I didn't know if you had any insights on that, Matty.
To be honest, I think Drame was just doing the man marking job. I wouldn't have said he was particularly lined up as a holding midfielder. Yeah, he's kind of just following his man in, and the left winger for Palace who was marking, I can't remember his first name, but it was something Hale, and he was actually a really decent player. And yeah, Drame was kind of just doing the man marking job. I wouldn't have said he was lined up as a holding midfielder. Probably more. I think he started as sort of a right centre back in a 3, and then Huggins was the right wing back with Davis as the left wing back. That's how I think it was lined up. Then it was Jenkins in the middle with McKinstry, and then a front 3 of Somerville, Gellart, and McCarron, I think.
Yeah, McCarron.
Yeah. So it's sort of a 3-4-3, and then Drame was just sort of doing his man marking job and ended up pushing into the middle a little bit to follow his man in there. But then when Kenneh came on in the second half, obviously we're going to talk more about Kenneh today, but he kind of adopted like a solid holding midfield role.
Which is where we've seen him play previously,
Yeah. And when we were trying to get back in the game, obviously it's kind of his job to try and distribute the ball forward. I thought Kenneh actually did quite well when he came on. And I know we brushed over it before, saying it's just one to move on from, but there were positives to take. I thought they pushed until the very end. They were really looking up to score in the second half. A few really good individual performances, even down to 10 men. I thought Casey was brilliant again. I've been singing his praises recently. I thought he was really good, and I thought Leif Davis was unbelievable. I know a lot of people. I think I see on Twitter a lot of people question Davis, and I'm not quite sure what else he can do. I think he's exceptional in the 23s, and then just sort of has to wait for a chance really in the first team.
But do you think that's why he's getting a bit of beef on from a very small percentage of our fan base sometimes on socials, is because they see and hear about his glowing performances when he does dip down to the 23s. He's forever on the bench for the first 11. He's an omnipresent character on the bench. But because it's Dallas Alioski, this kind of switching around, apart from the very good Davis famous quote and the games last year, he hasn't pushed forward into the first 11 this year. So I think people are a bit impatient with him and expect him to be playing, but it's not his job. He can't pick himself to be left back. Otherwise, I'm sure he would pick himself every week. So I think maybe it's a bit of an impatient part of the fan base that are ragging on him because they don't see him enough.
I think you've touched on this before, Rob, when we were discussing Huggins. And the thing that Huggins has over him, I mean, we've just said he played as a right wing back against Palace. He's played as a right back before. He's played as the number 8. He's played as left back, left wing back. He can play left wing. Davis is a left back. I mean, we've seen him at centre back. He could probably do a job. He can do a job at centre back, but you would never. If you looked at him and if you looked at the lineup and you saw Davis at centre back, you would probably say, "Oh, that's where we can hurt them." Just because he's not the biggest, he's not the tallest, he's not like the most commanding. He's quick. He's got a good left foot. He can play, but you would just look at him as a weak point if you had him lined up at centre half every week. And I think you said this before. It's just his downside is being able to play just one position, which is left back. But yeah, I mean, I like Davis. I'm honestly a big fan of him. I think he's got great pace. He seems to make the right runs. It's not just an overlap every time. He can come inside. He's got bags of energy. He seems a fit lad. And I know I've just said he's not the strongest, but he seems to have beefed up a little bit. He seems to be getting stronger than when we kind of first saw him. He seems a bit bulkier, a bit bigger. But yeah, I mean, just his pace is just so threatening. He was superb in the 3-0 against Reading. I thought it was one of his best games of the season. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm a fan of his, but maybe you were right, Rob, and just it's just that lack of versatility that kind of holds him back, and maybe why Bielsa don't throw him in, because we love to switch. We like to switch formations, midstream sometimes in a game, and if he can play left back, it's massively if he can only play left back, it's massively limited to what he can do. Whereas Alioski and Dallas have both previously played in midfield, so it's about being able to switch formations in the game, and he doesn't really offer you that option.
I think the thing about people on Twitter is that everybody kind of wants things instantly. Yeah. They see somebody like Bielsa, who is God, shouting "Very good, Davis," and they think, "Oh wow, Davis must be the next Roberto Carlos." So you set this really high expectation. Oh, Roberto Carlos. Oh, Bielsa's like "Very good, Davis," and he's never going to meet it. And that's kind of why we say, we're the 675th best LUFC podcast. Because if we say that, then your expectations aren't going to be very high. And we might turn out to be, the 673rd. So it's not as bad as all that. All right. On that note, better hear myself a bit. No more carefree laughter. Silence ever after. Walking through an empty house, tears in my eyes. This is where the story ends. This is goodbye. Knowing me, knowing you.
We'll get that ringing out, I thought, Podge.
It was a very long build-up to a very mediocre joke.
I wonder how many times he's heard it.
Right, yeah.
If you know him, put it in the comments.
So who's doing this? Is it mine?
Me, yeah, I've got it. Oh. We've got it.
Okay.
He's ready.
So, Nohan Kenneh, 18, born in Liberia according to Transfer Market, but he's represented England at under 16 and under 17 level. Very versatile player, can play in midfield, can play as a defender in midfield, he can play as a number 8, he's got a good engine, he's powerful, he can travel with the ball. More seen in midfield as a number 4, so sort of that deep line role, the Phillips role. Then in a back 3, he can play as the middle centre-back, the right centre-back. He can play as a centre-back in a back 2, in a back 4 as a centre-back pairing. And then for England as well, I believe he's played right back a few times, which makes sense as well. A good engine to get forward, strong lad. Yeah, he's a good player, one of the biggest prospects in the academy, if we're being honest. Obviously, we talk a lot about not heaping pressure on these lads, but he's widely seen as quite a big prospect that we've got on our hands. I believe this is not where my knowledge comes from. I promise I've watched him play a lot of times, and this is me talking. But I'm not a big Football Manager player, but I believe he's quite hot on that game. So, yeah, for anybody watching that plays Football Manager, get him signed.
Wonderkid.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, he's a Wonderkid.
Yeah, like I say, I'm not a Football Manager player, but I know he's quite good on that game. But yeah, a big physical presence. He must be 6'2", I would say. I've not got that information, but he's well over 6 foot, I would say. Big strong presence, can carry the ball, powerful, quick. He's got 1 goal for the 23s this season. It came against Middlesbrough from a set piece. But he's played 8 games. And then he's contracted until 2022 at Leeds. So we'll probably do getting that extended, probably. If Victor Orta's watching this, which I doubt he is, please get him extended. So yeah, that's the Nohan Kenneh profile. I believe, Rob, you've got some stats as well.
Yeah, just a bit of an opinion-based stuff. But yeah, so he's been in the squad 12 times, starting 11-6. bench for. He missed the early part of the season because we've spoke about this before previously as well, when he was playing for the actual age group that he's supposed to play for, the kind of under 18s age. He played against Manchester United, I believe, at the back end of last year, just before Christmas. Exactly. He played in a DM role and we lost 4-0. But when he's taken the step up, he is one of the shining examples of something that we do speak about on this recording a lot, which is players that play above their age range but look comfortable. So he's moved from 18s to 23s, and recently, well, since Christmas, has played or featured in all of the 23 squads except one. And as Matty said, he's popped up at DM, the middle centre-back of a 3 when we adjust and play with higher wing-backs, especially when the first 11 lads have dropped down. And you've seen this kind of Costa or Poveda appearances on the wings. He's dropped deeper, but when he's playing with his age group and given a bit more freedom, he pushes up and demonstrates his skills in a Phillips role or a number 8. So, big, strong, likeable looking footballer in terms of his movement, his intelligence, the way he reads the game. I do think DM or CDM will be his natural position, but as we speak about regularly, versatility is key, and to be able to drop him into centre-back or push him forward to 8 would be a big arsenal for his weaponry if he can keep up with that development in his attacking play. And he popped up with a goal just a couple of weeks ago. Really impressed me in the Borough game. I thought he was unlucky not to be starting against Palace, but obviously that was a bit of switching around due to Berardi coming in, wasn't it? And rehabilitation and position swapping. I like him a lot. I think he's a great talent. England under 17s, as Matty mentioned, on his CV already. So extend the contract for me, keep him grounded and keep him developing at the club rather than loan him out.
He seems like a nice kid.
1.9 metres. So he's not short either. He's quite tall. He's actually slightly taller than me, which is impressive. 100. 107.
Like the way he was surprised by that.
I was surprised because normally, especially when you have a right back, they're not quite so tall. But obviously, Matty's talked about him playing in the defensive midfield role, talked about him playing in the centre back pairing, talked about him on right back. And unlike Matty, a lot of my knowledge is based on spurious things like Football Manager. And there was a story from footballmanagerstory.com, and some bloke bought him for $700K for his team, and this means absolutely nothing. You're probably skipping ahead of this, in which case you're not listening. So I can say what I want. Watford bought him in the game for 32.5 million. A couple of years later, Arsenal paid 45 million for him, and then 4 seasons after that, Liverpool paid 107 million pounds for no. Is this this realistic, Matty? Can we see 107 million for Nohan Kenneh?
I mean, with the way the market's going and Victor Orta's negotiating skills, let's just not rule it out.
On Football Manager, he can be retrained as a centre back and right back, so that's quite realistic. He's a hard-hitting ball winner. He's got high physicality, aggression, and work rate, monster strength, and incredible stamina. So there you go. Does that all seem accurate?
Yeah, pretty accurate.
Okay, so is that the Nohan Kenneh section brought to a close then?
Yeah, I've got it sorted. With finishing with, he's going to be sold to Liverpool for 107 million.
Right, there you go. Heard it here first. Rob, do you have anything else to say about Nohan Kenneh? Okay.
I think we've covered it all.
Right. So, Wolves then. First v third. Wolves have 26 points, so we have 14 points more than them. We should be winning this, no? They're third, but we should be winning.
We spoke about this. We spoke about this, didn't we? With a few weeks ago, it was supposed to be first versus second was v them, and then the game was postponed and rearranged, and then now there's been different changes in the table. But I think this will be a tough game, as we mentioned before. I think it's winnable. 100% it's winnable. We've got the squad and the quality, but it'll be a tougher game than I think we think it might be.
Definitely. Just looking here, Wolves beat Palace a couple of weeks ago, and obviously we've seen Crystal Palace's quality. ourselves just this week. Then they're coming on to this with 2-0 wins. So they beat Palace 2-0 on the 22nd, and then Fulham 2-0 away on the 26th. So in good form themselves, and we're bouncing back from a defeat. So yeah, we're gonna have to be a good performance. They drew, I think it's our only draw of the season, the 2-2 against Wolves at Thorpe Arch. That was Jacko's first game in charge, I think. So obviously we've come a long way since then. But Geller and Greenwood scored that day, I think. And that was a really tough game. Wolves looked like a quality side. Definitely one of the best sides we've played this season. So expecting a tough game. And if we can return to winning ways, obviously that'll be ideal. But probably another draw wouldn't even be a bad result, just to keep them at bay. I mean, 14 points gap to, like I said, one of the best teams we've played just shows how well we've done, especially this second half of the season. Obviously being on fire, and I'm sure the lads won't let the Palace game get them down. I mean, obviously difficult after going down to 10 men. Still 10 points clear at the top of the league, still flying. So yeah, I'm expecting them to be fired up and bounce back.
It was 2-2. Gelhardt and Greenwood did score the goals. For them, it was Kundal and Corbinu, which is a fun name. It was Van den Heuvel, Casey, Hosanna, Drame, McCalmont, Huggins, Jenkins, McKinstry, Stevens, Gelhardt, and Greenwood. So it was a 3-1-4-2. It looks like
3 of those lads are out on loan, aren't they? Now, so it's a different shaped team than what, like I think you said, it was Jacko's first game, wasn't it, Matty? So yeah. Still understanding the squad. We've brought up the 18s now, and obviously depending on what's going on with with Poveda and Berardi's rehabilitation, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see them involved. Greenwood's back on the pitch, as we know, so maybe he will be on the bench as well. I think he's on his way back now. He's been back training for at least 2 weeks, I think, unless he's had another knock. So I think we'll win. I think it'll be a tight affair. I think I'm going for 2-1.
Okay, score prediction, Matty?
Yeah, I'm going to join Rob with a 2-1. Okay,
there you go. Yeah, I just expect the under-23s to win every single game. You know, they could be playing Real Madrid or something. I'd still expect them to win. Okay, is that about it then? So final thoughts for the week?
Yeah, don't let the Palace result get the boys down. Let's just go back to Wolves and show our quality again. Obviously, we'll be without Somerville, so interested to see who comes in that. Maybe Max Dean, who we obviously spoke about the other week. So yeah, just interested to see who comes in for Somerville. Interested to see how they respond, because obviously not many defeats we've had this season. We did respond well to our last defeat. We went and won 9 in a row. So yeah, hopefully if we can do that again and respond well, that's what we're looking for, and a 2-1 win, like we say.
Okay, Rob?
Keep churning away, and I think that we'll wrap it up soon enough. I think once they've got the title in the bag, or at least the promotion in the bag, the weight will be lifted off their shoulders, because it's a phenomenal effort for the season so far. So yeah, keep churning out the results, performances. Don't let the Palace result get them down, and do the job over the next few weeks to seal the title.
Yep, same from me, really. 2 red cards in the last 2 games, so it'd be nice to have a referee who's not crazy and making it all about him. But the players can't think about that. They've got to think about, that's not who they are. They're the team that won 9 in a row. So get back on the horse and back to winning ways. So if you enjoyed this podcast, you can find us at Peacock's Roar on Twitter, or the Roaring Peacock LUFC fan channel. Check out the branding on YouTube. Please subscribe. It would help us a lot. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think about the under-23s. We try and reply to every single one, and we're building up a little community. It's just really nice to hear what you guys think and have that interaction. So I've been Ross at RossBell1984. It's a very good bye from me. Thank you for listening. And at Juicy Rob has been with us as well.
Thank you for listening, and see you next week.
And at Matty Ingham 17, who is also the owner of at LUFC Academy News, which is LUFCAcademyCentral.com. So check that out as well. He was Matty. So thanks very much, Matty.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
Come on, Leeds! Most of our stats come from LUFC Stats or LUFC Data on Twitter. A very special thanks to Barney Stewart, Cook, Ewan and Howard Metcalf, Josh Pearson, Laura, Leon and Rob, The Light Show, and all our family and friends.
So many games to play, don't care what's on your mind. I should have said no, but I didn't think that you'd mind.